It's a great pleasure to have Professor Prof. Seedhouse with us today, and he's Professor of Educational and Applied Linguistics at Newcastle University. And it's my first time, so we do the hybrid, very kind of technologically advanced seminar. But really, so great to have you today, and going to talk about learning languages through culture. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon to people joining us on Zoom and YouTube. So it's a great honour. Thanks very much for the invitation to Dr. Junkier, Oxford University, Hertford College and the Oriental Studies. It's great to be back in Oxford again. In fact, my mother lives in Oxford in Marston, so I've been cutting down fruit trees in her garden yesterday. Keeps me busy. And today then we're going to be talking about learning language through culture. Now this is something I've been interested in for many decades now. There are lots of quotations you can find which will tell you that language and culture are inseparable, they're inextricably bound together. But my experience as a student was that they were taught separately. We had our classes on language and culture and literature all separate. And as recently as the 1990s, I was teaching in Norwegian students at York University, and we taught separate classes in English language, English literature and British civilization. So it seemed to me, could we find a way using modern technology to combine all of these things and to learn language through culture? So for the last 12 years then, we, that is a group of applied linguists, have been working with our colleagues in computing science at Newcastle University to try and find ways to learn languages through cultural tasks. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And so I'm going to be talking about the Enact app, which we have developed together. PI of this project is Dr. Muge Satar. I'm the co-I, and Alison Whelan is the RA on the project. And if you want a full list of all the project members, including people from computing science, then that's available on the link there. Now, the project has been funded by the wonderful European Union. Unfortunately, we won't be able to apply for funding again in the future, but it's been great working as a European team. And if you look at the bottom here, you'll see a list of our other partners on the project: Boğaziçi University in Turkey, Helsinki in Finland, Cultura Institute also in Helsinki, UAB in Spain. And so what have we produced then? The Enact Web App, that was released in February, and we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. What's the point of it? Well, it helps you to learn languages through cultural activities. And it also enables other people to upload their own favourite cultural activities in their own languages so that everybody else around the world can see theirs. So I'm going to show you some examples in a moment. So for example, you can learn Japanese while you're learning how to do origami. One video I made myself was for learning English while you're learning how to carve Halloween pumpkin. Maybe some of you will be doing that in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe even sooner, come to think of it. Or learning Chinese whilst you're actually making a Chinese lantern. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is go to the app itself, and I'm just going to give you a brief glimpse at the learn part of the act, and then we're going to talk about the project and its aims, and then at the end I'm going to come back and show you how to create your own cultural activity in your own language, if that's what you would like to do. Okay, so as you can see on the screen there are 3 possible activities. Learn, using activities which are already there. Create, if you want to upload your own. And connect, if you want to give comments or feedback to people who've put their activities up. That gives a sense of community. So we'll go into the learn part. And you'll see a list of activities here giving you information on them. Many different activities, different languages and cultures from around the world. I'm just going to show you a Turkish activity which is called Karagöz. And we'll take a look at that. Now this is just to give you an outline of the activities. So Karagöz is a Turkish shadow puppet. And the way the app works is, first of all, you start off with a cultural video and audio, and this gives you something of the cultural background of the activity, and it gives you a bit of introduction to the language. So it's a shadow puppet. So first of all, we'll just listen to that for a minute or two, and we'll see what it is. Okay, so you all know what shadow puppets are, and they exist in many cultures around the world. In fact, they also exist in Britain. Anybody know what our shadow puppets are called? Our puppets shows? Punch and Judy was the original puppet show, but it's not politically correct, so you can't see it at the moment. Somebody there? Right, so first of all you make a video which gives you cultural background, and then the aim of the app, of course, is learning language through culture. So you need to learn some of the basic foreign vocabulary before you undertake the activity. So you need to learn some words. So here we can see a pair of scissors. What might scissors be in Turkish? So we just click on there, and then we learn this word,
Makas.
Makas. So I'll try and remember that until the end of the day. Makas. So you go through all of these. You can repeat it as many times as you want. So you learn the pronunciation and the writing for the vocabulary. Okay. So you've got a bit of cultural background, some vocabulary, and then you go on to the actual activity itself. So for this, you need to assemble all of these objects that you've got here, get them all together, and then you've got a video to follow which tells you how to do the activity. So let's learn something about this then.
Karagöz'ün çıktısını al. Karagöz'ü kartona yapıştır.
And you can get a check on your understanding there. I got it right. Ooh, great. Okay, so you'll get the idea of that. Then you go through the activity, and you follow the instructions. You can follow it as many times as you want, and you've got you can put in subtitles in any language there, so it can be Turkish and English if you want, and that makes it should then be easy for people to follow. Okay, so you've done the activity. Have you actually learnt any words by doing that? So you can then do a check activity to see whether it works or not. So the word for scissors, I seem to remember, was makas. So let's see whether that works or not. Check. Yes, I got 1 out of 9 there. That's great. So you can check your vocabulary there. You can also do a check on understanding of the concept by putting the images in the correct sequence. So I think this one is going to be last in the sequence, probably, and then maybe this is going to be first in the sequence. Okay, so that's the basic template then for the activities. A cultural video to introduce the language and the cultural activity, then learn the vocabulary, then carry out the activity, and then you can do a test on the vocabulary and the concept as well. You're not limited to that, you can do other types of test as well. Okay, so that's the basic concept there. So I'll come back now to the PowerPoint. Okay, so that's the basic idea, and you're not limited. It can be any type of cultural activity. It can be Morris dance, any kind of dancing, any kind of singing, whatever is a cultural activity in your particular culture can be included. Right, so as I mentioned, 3 different parts to it. Learn, create, which we'll come back to later, and then connect. Connect so you can leave comments on the app, but you can also leave comments on the particular cultural materials that people have produced. So why did we do this project then? So it's to promote 2-way knowledge exchange, knowledge of language, culture and also digital skills, and also promoting understanding between host and migrant communities in local languages. In other words, migrants coming into the UK, they can learn about British culture from using the app, but they can also post up materials about their own culture so that British people can understand about where the migrants have come from. We were also interested in intergenerational exchange because in the UK you sometimes find that the older migrants know the original language and culture, but their children don't really know much about this. But the younger generation are very often very good on digital skills, so we're trying to promote that so the young people could learn something about the original language and culture. The older people could learn from the youngsters about the digital skills. We also wanted to promote the inclusion of university students in the local community, and also having an innovative task-based digital pedagogy for learning and also virtual exchange between communities. Now, I imagine most people watching will have some experience of foreign language teaching, so you'll probably all be familiar with task-based language learning and teaching, and you'll recognise that this is a development of that. The idea is you're using learners prompting the learners to complete a task, which should be a real-world task, and they're using language to solve a problem, and so meaning is primary, so we're focusing primarily on language use rather than language form, although of course we're doing vocabulary learning, we're focusing on the form of specific words which are being used in the cultural activity. But TBLT has predominantly been used in the classroom to carry out tasks. So here we're trying to integrate the language with culture in the design of the task. And we're taking TBLT in effect out of the classroom and into the workshop or the dance floor or wherever it is that you're carrying out this particular cultural task. It can be done anywhere. You can get Wi-Fi reception really. Okay, so the project aims and activities and participants. So first of all, we've been trying to promote two-way exchange between migrant and host community activities. So here in the UK, in Newcastle specifically, we've been working on the design of the app with migrants, refugees and asylum seekers, and we're indebted to our colleagues in Nest in Newcastle, as they've been working with us on bringing in migrants, refugees and asylum seekers, and we've been able to co-design the app with them so that it's effective for them to use. And also we've been working with Action Foundation in Newcastle as well. And so we've been engaged in co-production workshops during this year. We've now finished those workshops in the UK, but they're ongoing in Spain, Finland and Turkey. And so, as I mentioned, they're designed to do two things. For the migrants, it's a matter of creating their activities on the system, putting them on so that British people can then learn something they've come from, but also putting British activities such as carving a Halloween pumpkin onto the system. So if they want to know why are the supermarkets full of pumpkins at the moment, giant pumpkins, then they can find the answer and try carving it themselves. So this has been going on in other countries as well. We've been working with the Kultura Institute, our colleagues at Helsinki University. So they've been working with Russian migrants in Finland and doing a two-way exchange of culture there. And so the participants have been both intercultural pairs but also intergenerational pairs in some cases. And then the second part, inclusive higher education systems. We've been training our students to become facilitators in these workshops, so in effect giving them teaching experience. And our students in Newcastle come from all over the world, and lots of Chinese students have taken part in it. And thirdly, we've been using the app as part of virtual exchange, specifically between Turkey and the UK, and that was in the fall last year. So having students in the UK and Turkey working together on producing cultural artifacts. So what have we produced so far on the system? So we've got 84 cultural activities there at the moment. As I said, we only released the app in February and it's now October, so that's good progress from many countries around the world, some of these reflecting countries people have come from as refugees, and that's in 18 different languages. Which have we got most activities from? Turkey, actually. We've had most activities are in Turkish, and of course we've got quite a few in English as well. Which are the popular activities? St. Geordie, or St. George in this country, that's producing a rose, that's in Catalan. Bonfire night in English, that one is coming up, isn't it? 5th of November, that's quite soon. Karagöz, the Turkish shadow puppet, which I showed you. Tartan paper weaving, where do you think that's from? Scotland, yes. And the sauna, if you want to know what to do in a Finnish sauna, you can learn about that there as well. As we're in Newcastle, we also have Geordie dialect content on the Lambton worm, so you can check that out. So you can put up not just languages, but also dialects of languages as well, in any accent you want, really. Okay, this is also a research project, so we're gathering a lot of data in the four countries. and we should be finished in data gathering by the end of the year. So what are we researching? Specifically language learning gains. We're doing pre and post test of vocabulary. We're recording the interaction, and we're doing interaction analysis. How do the two people work together to carry out the tasks? Semiotic analysis of digital artifacts. So what is it that they've made at the end? How do they understand it? Also, because we've been working with migrants, we've taught them digital skills by showing them how to use the system, and we've developed a digital skills certification system which you can find on the website. We've also been working on language and cultural awareness, and we'll be talking in a moment rather more about culture and what we mean by culture. And apart from that, because we've built into the app the ability to give feedback in various ways, we're using the evaluations and also audio recorded discussions and feedback during the workshop as data as well, in order to improve the app. Okay, so examples of feedback then. The participants there, here they're learning Catalan and they're making the Rosa there. You can see on the right, let's drag this down a bit. This is Rosa de Sant Jordi. And you can see that the participants are able to give feedback, which we're then able to analyse and feed into the research. Okay, let's try and move on. Okay. Right, so vocabulary learning, we're doing this two ways. First of all, we get data from the app on that rather simplistic vocabulary test where you just check, match the word to the object. But apart from that, we've been doing more formal vocabulary testing using the system on the right. In other words, we start off by showing them the object, for example, pen, seeing whether they know that before they start the activity, and then again afterwards, after they've finished the activity, and then again 2 weeks later to see whether they have learnt it or not. This isn't scrolling on for some reason. Okay, PDF's decided to behave strangely. Never mind, I'll just scroll. Okay, so we've started looking at the vocabulary scores, but these are just preliminary results, and this shows that for this particular one, you've got a score of 0.4 in the pre-test, goes up to 3.78 out of 6 in the post-test, and then drops slightly in the delayed post-test. That's 2 weeks later. Okay, so we've begun looking at what the learners say about language learning using the app, and for the moment we're putting that into 3 categories. First of all, what do they notice about the form of the foreign language in terms of spelling, pronunciation or syntax? So this person has noticed signs on the top of the letters, but I think they mean the accents there. Why have you got accents? How do you pronounce the accents? And then meaning, what is memorable about the meaning? This person's done Japanese origami. So it says, I'll remember the words better than if I'd only read a text or listened to an audio file. And then finally use, in context or meaning focus or outcome oriented. This person says, I've learnt a lot about the festival. I don't speak a word of Spanish, it was very easy to follow it, and the outcome was beautiful. Right, so let's move on to culture then. So at present then, there are two rather different ways of approaching culture. First of all, culture as facts and information. This is a way that's been going on for a very long time, so obviously all Englishmen wear bowler hats, don't they? We learned this a long time ago. Right, and often these facts are rather outdated. And secondly, the more recent approach is culture as semiotic practices. So we're trying